So this is the BA plan for Grossmont Union High School District. So for transportation, currently there is transportation for students to go to and from housing, and that is provided by the district. So that is a description of services for the transportation. The service provides them pick up from the house and then drop them off at their house after school. The organization of the department is as follows. The bus operations supervisor is Bryant Jackson. Safety and training is Julia Armstrong. Deputy secretary is Debbie Mink. Financial Secretary is Carol Ortiz, and Shop Lead Man is Dan Darling. Within the Transportation Department, they have a fleet of buses. There's 33 60-person buses. There are 7 or 8 special education buses. So they have approximately 60 different buses within their disposal just for transporting students. These can be used by the charter schools or by the regular schools for field trips or simply for staff, or excuse me, for student picking up and dropping off. The budgets currently the district is aimed to spend $831,000 in transportation for SPED and Gen Home pickup. This accounts for 34% of the transportation budget, and the budget itself for transportation accounts to about 1% of the total budget for Grossmont Union. So there's a lot of expenditures on mechanics. They have about 15 or 16 different mechanics working within the shop, which is done in-house. So technology covers anything that has to deal with a district asset being transported by a district vehicle. So those are all considered transportation. If someone takes a district vehicle from one spot to another spot, it's covered under transportation. So if something happens to that vehicle, it goes back to the shop and is handled in-house, which is also included in the 1% of the total budget within transportation. So how it aligns with the mission is it's safely to transport students to and from schools, actively recruit and train school bus drivers to the maximum level of security and training to make sure that they can secure students and make sure that they get to school. Minimize cost bus per mile. That's currently their process. They're trying to minimize the cost per mile that it costs for busing, whether it's to field trips or picking students up. So they're trying to reduce that cost. Currently, 6 of the 11 high school sites have access to busing students in. 5 of the 11 do not. And the reason that was chosen is because the populations at the 5 of the 11 have been deemed that they have a population that's close enough within 3 miles of the school site so that they do not need to provide busing. So over half of the school sites have busing, which is what these buses are used for. Teaching and learning. So teaching and learning is supportive instruction and training that teachers and staff receive to ensure that students are receiving the highest level of quality education. So there's many steps in this internal organization, running from adult education to school accountability report. So there are many different departments within this one aspect, and I took a few of them that I considered very major because since there were so many, I picked out the ones that I thought would be most effective in teaching and learning. So the Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, Teresa Kemper, will be considered the main. While the superintendent will be technically at the top of teaching and learning, the Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, Teresa Kemper, seems to be the one who's managing and is kind of like the front runner or reports to the district, or excuse me, the superintendent on what teaching and learning is doing in the district. The Director in Assessment and Evaluation, Gary Schwartzward, he is the one who assesses schools and provides the SARC report. So this school accountability report card, he's the one who goes in, assesses the teaching and learning and instruction, and evaluates each school. The Director of Curriculum, Paul Dutremont, is the one who accesses and assesses Common Core curriculum, Smarter Balance training, as well as testing materials and making sure that all the curriculum within the schools is A through G recommended and approved, and that students are on a gateway to go to a 4-year community college or a career after they finish with Grossmont. Director of Instruction and Professional Development is Cindy Douglas. She's the one who runs all professional developments, or actually all professional developments are kind of approved through her, so she would be the main person for professional development within the district. But she does not run all of them, she just kind of approves them. The SPED director is Rosemary Tagrassi, so anything SPED, she's the director for everything that has to do with special education. So 64% of the district's expenditures are on district employees. GUHSD spends $73.9 million on teacher salaries per year, $33.1 million on classified staff salaries, and $107 million are spent on salaries for teachers and classified staff. So $107, that is not including management or non-classified staff. So People who have a certificate or people who have a credential are considered classified or credentialed staff. So that is a lot of money, $107 million per year. $10.7 million per year is spent on books and materials and supplies. So the overriding mission for our division is continued improvement of student performance, although academic success is primary focus on what mission programs. Grossmont is really kind of trying to integrate a full high school experience to making sure that students really appreciate and can learn from inside and outside the classroom, and that's what teaching and learning is about. So most of the general budget is spent in salaries. ADA has allocated $126 per student will be unrestricted for Grossmont, and $30 will be restricted towards instructional materials. The reasons why this is important is because $30 can be spent on books and supplies, and that's $30 per student of ADA that can be allocated towards that. So I think that's a really good setup that Grossmont has, and has kind of got lucky with that allocation, because that will ensure that over the next couple years that they're allocating a good amount of money towards instructional materials, which may be technology, which is what they're really lacking. With roughly 20,000 students attending, there's a lot of staff that need to be paid. The statement made by Teaching and Learning is they're talking about budgets, and you need people to teach students. So this is kind of their acknowledgement that they spend a lot of money on budgets for just teaching staff. But teaching is all about the person. You don't learn from a book, you learn from a teacher. So the teacher instructionalizes that and making sure that students are learning past just simple, I guess, procedural to a little bit more applicational learning. I think that's what teachers are there for, and that's why we pay teachers, is to make transformative learning. Human resources. HR's purpose is to ensure that all staff are credentialed, certificated, or legally able to work in a school zone. So they make sure that all staff are physically healthy, are legally adept, and can also make sure that they provide the best service for the students. So the Associate Administrator of HR is Steve Sonich. So he's the one who runs all HR. So the budget for HR is the biggest part of GUHSD. $73.9 million is spent for teachers, $33.1 million is spent for classified staff, $10.1 million is spent on management or administration, and $38 million is spent for staff benefits, totaling $155.1 million in budget, approximately 83% of the total budget for Grossmont Union High School District per year. So HR's purpose, their goals, how their mission statement aligns, is that they're the ones who are responsible for making sure teachers are correctly credentialed, there's no misassignments, making sure that tuberculosis testing is done and teachers are healthy and able to teach students. Also to make sure that every teacher is allowed and legally able to teach within the schools. So they deal with the pay grades, the pay structures, as well as making sure that teachers are paid the correct amount, as well as classified and management. So a key feature is there's a majority, over 3/4 of the budget is spent on staff members. And once again, I agree that you need people to teach the students. I think that 83% is quite a vast amount of the budget to be spent, but I mean, this is a service industry, so most of the money and most of the expenditure will be on the experience, which comes from the teachers and the service. Finance and business. So finance and business within Grossmont Union High School District is a department that runs along many different avenues. There's no set finance and business department, but there are different departments that kind of encompass those two aspects. So they deal with accounting, finance, budgeting processes, facilities, and purchasing materials. So Executive Director of Fiscal Services is Ken Leeton. He's the one who deals with making sure that accounts payable, accounts receivable, accounting, budgeting, those are all kind of met within the terms, and to make sure that all accounts and fiscal analysis is done. The Director of Purchasing, Ryan Pinson, is one who deals with facilities purchasing as well as materials and supplies, that makes sure that each facility is up to date, and does large-scale purchasing with the contractors. The Business and Finance Department is currently dealing with budgets and making sure that they're enforced, and they kind of make sure that budgets are staying in the black and out of the red. So starting every year, the fiscal team is given beginning assets for the year. So currently they started off with $25,853,011.17 with real assets, whether that was unconfirmed capital gains, prepaid expenses, accounts receivable and accounts payable getting paid off, as well as real facilities. They start off with $25 million in assets. And every year they get assessed on that. So the true kind of audit for the fiscal policy will be to make sure that that number is always growing. So business and finance is responsible for planning, organizing, development, monitoring the services, programs, accounting, budgetal, financial reporting, payroll. They also are accountable for ASB, making sure ASB is fiscally sound and financially sound as well. Equipment, inventory, external audits. So this has to deal with purchasing as well as fiscal. So when it comes to business and finance, there are so many different departments that made up. I chose the two main ones that seem to have the most relevance, and they're all ran by the superintendent. So the deputy superintendent runs the financial services, but I figured these two departments have the most effect in deal with the business and the finance. So I want to make sure that those were included, and I think these are the main two ones that should be included in the finance and business. Next we have technology. So technology is very vast, and it's very strange because technology has such a major role, but yet the district has yet to kind of come in terms with classifying how useful it is. So technology is the department that deals with technology in the classroom for instruction. They also deal with communication and are involved with internet as well as just electronics in general. So the executive director of technology is Rick Roberts. The chief information security officer is Andrew Lee. The director of instructional technology is Dan McDowell. So the outputs for technology educational services, which is ETS, is to provide support and training for teachers and instruction. Currently, there's a plan to integrate technology into the schools based on LCFF funding. So Dan McDowell is the one who's currently planning to integrate technology into the schools and making sure that Grossmont has a plan for technology integration. He's the one who's planning Wi-Fi production as well as working with Rick Roberts to making sure that Smarter Balance needs are met, because I know that there was kind of a bottleneck with wireless last year with Smarter Balance. So he's currently working to assess that. Their mission statement is pretty hefty, and it pretty much deals with making sure that all the educational systems are met: the communication, infinite campus, heating, air conditioning, like anything that has to deal with technology is dealt with through this. And I think there needs to be more inclusion of the budget. When you look at the budgets, it doesn't really show the usefulness or kind of define what technology is used for. It's really strange. When you look at the budgets, there's no budget for technology. It's just kind of included in other aspects of the budget. So I think one thing they really need to do is include, this is technology, here's how much we're going to spend on it, here's how much we have. And that would be the one thing that I've seen in the BA that needs to be included, is including technology into the budget. Real estate and facilities. Real estate facilities deals mostly with property acquisition as well as property maintenance. The executive director of facilities management is Katie Wright. The allocation for facilities purchasing and maintaining assets is $2,592,000 per year, and $417 million was approved in 2008 for property maintenance as well as production. So currently there is a 12th site getting approved, and it's 95% done. Towards getting all the paperwork and processes. They've currently found a site, and there should be a 12th site within before 2018, I believe. So this site's going to come up pretty soon. So facilities management department manages the operation and maintenance of construction of district facilities or to create excellent learning environments. So they're the one who deals with all the facilities. Facilities management deals with the maintaining the condition of sites. Currently there is a plan to build the 12th site, which I said, and they keep everything kind of maintained. So while there was operating and maintenance, real estate and facilities kind of handles all of that. So Katie Wright deals with property maintenance, as well as Rain Pinson, who was earlier in purchasing. She handles with the facilities purchasing. So she kind of works with this as well. This is not very clearly defined in real estate and facilities, so I kind of had to find the next big thing, which is facilities management and purchasing. But this also goes over for maintenance and operating. So this was the BA plan for Grossmont Union High School District. Thanks for listening.